Hello, and welcome to Mr. C's presentation on factors. Yeah, get excited, because this is a deeper understanding of multiplication. In order to understand what a factor is, how to find factors, and even really how to use factors, you really have to know what multiplication is at a base level. All right, so like groups of things. I talked about this in my multiplication lesson, so we're going to learn what we used in multiplication to be able to identify factors and factors of numbers. If you don't know how to multiply yet, you need to learn that first before you start looking at factors. Okay, so let's dive into the question that we always ask. Why is this important, and why do we need to know this stuff? There's a couple good reasons. If you want to know how to divide, and you want to know how to divide, okay, then you have to understand factors. I learned something called long division to do like big number division. There's lots of different ways to do it these days, but in order to do long division, the way that I know how to divide big numbers, you have to understand factors. Secondly, it's going to help you break things up into groups, which, spoiler alert, that is division. Okay, so it really kind of just gets back to division. And ultimately, it shows that you really understand multiplication. If you can find factors and factor pairs, then you understand multiplication to a deeper level, which is important as you progress through mathematics, okay? So let's go ahead and work to identify this together. What is a factor? Okay, so first, I just want to give you some terminologies. When you see the word factor, sometimes you're going to see a phrase called factor pairs. Okay, this is not like the pear that you would pick out of a tree and eat. This is a pair like two things that go together are a pair. Factors will always come in a pair. Sometimes it will be the same number, so you'll only write it once. But most times they will be two different numbers. And let me show you how that looks. So we're going to find all of the factors. I'm going to write the vocabulary word for you again and again. The factors of the number 12. All right? We're going to find all the factors for the number 12. Now, remember how I mentioned before that it's very important that we understand multiplication. Here is why. When I'm finding factors, really, what I'm trying to do is find numbers that multiply together and equal this number here, the number 12. So I'm trying to think of multiplication problems that equal 12. Well, here's an easy one, right? 1 times 12, that equals 12, right? So here is a factor pair of 12, 1 and 12. Both 1 and 12 are factors of 12. Well, that's easy. Okay, yeah, it is. Let's go to one that's maybe a little more difficult. How about this one? 6 times 2 equals 12. So both the numbers 6 and 2 equal 12. Or I'm sorry, are factors of 12. 6 times 2 equals 12. So 6 and 2 are factors of 12. They go in evenly. Okay, there's no remainder left over, right? 6 will evenly go into 12, and 2 will evenly go into 12, and obviously so will 1 and 12. Here's another factor pair of 12. How about 3 times 4? That also equals 12. Okay, so 3 and 4 are another factor pair for 12. So all of these numbers individually, okay, the 1, the 12, the 6, the 2, the 3, and the 4 are all factors of 12. Okay, now when you're trying to think of more, does 5 evenly go into 12? Is there a multiplication number where 5 times something equals 12? Nah, so 5's not a factor of 12. How about 7? No. 8, no. 9, 10, nope. 11, no. And then anything larger than 12 is certainly not going to be a factor of 12 because you can't multiply it by something to get 12. So this is how we would list our factors. Our factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. So 12 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factors. It's not that hard if you know multiplication, right? Now, some numbers are going to be much more difficult to find the factors of, right? Like think of all the factors that are in 100. 10 and 5. We also have 100 itself. 50 goes into 100. 25 goes into 100. Some of those factor pairings are difficult to find, and you really have to spend some time thinking about what numbers evenly go into the number in question. Okay, and I'm going to challenge you to do that in the try it section. But first, let's talk about what we learned. There's a few important things. So first, we learned how to find factors for numbers. Right? We find factor pairs that multiply together and equal that number, and then those are factors of that number. Secondly, we know that factors help us divide things into groups, right? So if we had the number 12, we can divide it into even groups of 6, we can divide it into even groups of 2, we can divide it into even groups of 3 and 4, and obviously 1 and 12. So it's going to help us when we start to divide. And then finally, knowing factors is important. It shows that we understand multiplication at a deeper level, that we're cutting these things up into groups, or we're putting these groups together to equal a larger number. Okay? It's just really a deeper understanding of multiplication. So I'm going to challenge you to find some factors. Let's try it. Okay? Find all of the factors for the following numbers, all of them. And you're going to have to think about some of these. Some of them are kind of tough. The first number is going to be 16. Find all the factor pairs and all the factors of 16. Ooh, and just really quickly, I'm going to point out 4, I'm going to give you an answer. 4 times 4 equals 16, right? Well, 4 and 4 are the same number, so when you write down the factors of 16, you're only going to write it once. You wouldn't write down 4 twice, okay? That's an important thing that I forgot to mention, okay? Okay, so next, find all the factors of 24. And then finally, this one I think is the hardest one, find all the factors of 50. There's a bunch. There's also a bunch for 24. See if you can find all the factors. Check your answers with your teacher. Check them with your mom, your grandma, if you got an older brother or sister, somebody who is a master mathematician, and see if you got all the answers correct. I hope this helped. Our next step is going to be multiples. So we're going to go from factors to multiples. I will see you next time.